Brook, pick up a sled, grab a bunch of bamboo and take it over to Peak Moose. Oh man, that was the love of my life because I get to run a sled with something to do. I couldn't run patients because back in those days you had advanced first aid with the American Red Cross and you couldn't have a first aid card unless you were 18 years old. There was no such thing as paramedics and EMTs. So I got to run sleds with just equipment. I did that for several years with Tom, went to a bunch of senior exams, and ran a lot of pre-courses and set courses with him. And then we kind of drifted a little bit, not so much drifted, we always were connected, but we just kind of got separated. He went on here, out here to the west, out to New Mexico, then up here to Keystone in Summit County. And I ended up, growing up and went to college and was supposed to get a college education and get a real job. And after the college education, the real job didn't come up right away. I ended up being a ski bum. And yes, I ended up being a full-time ski patrol. And did that for several years, and I followed the path of Tom very quickly. In 1982, I accomplished my PSPA pin, the Professional Ski Patrol Association. I'm very proud of it, and I thought of Tom the whole time because a lot of the things I had learned to accomplish that goal, I had gotten from Tom. And we connected, he was proud of me, we did, telephone call, whatever, connected. In 1984, I got the NSP certification, assigned number 233. He was very quick to recognize, oh, you're 233, I'm number 35. And Tom, you're a couple years older than me, and I wish I had something in the double digits instead of triple digits. In 1989, I got my national appointment, 7191. And I didn't connect with him for a year or two, and finally we did. I said, Tom, you get a national appointment yet? Oh, I'm working on that. Well, I'm 7191. And, I'm working on that. A year or two later, he finally did get the national appointment, 7655. He was very proud of it, but I couldn't let him get away with it. And I said, over the cook shot, hey, Tom, what's your national appointment? Yeah, I know yours is smaller than mine, but, we went on with it. When I was back east and was progressing through the progression of the National Ski Patrol, the Professional Ski Patrol, I went through training programs with a lot of candidates, senior patrollers, certified patrollers. After I got my accomplishment with the certified pins, I went on to hosting clinics and training a lot of patrollers so they could advance. And went through a lot of snowplow courses, side slip courses, toboggan courses, and we would critique them and show them that this is a better way to do it, a different way to do it, a more advanced way to do it. And they'd say, God, that's great. We didn't know how to do that. That's great. Where'd you learn that from? That's the Tom way. They didn't know what Tom was and what was going on. They were just eager to know they could do something better. By the end of the day, my friend John Neal and I would say the Tom way several times, and finally, after a couple of these, who's Tom? There's no Tom here. It's the Tom Festa way. Don't worry about it. Keep on doing it. You'll do very well. And I'm sure a lot of patrollers here learned the Tom way. My ski bum life came to an end. I met my wife, and we met at Bel Air, and we got married in 1986. And one of our first ski vacations, being married, we came out here to Summit County, had a rented a condo in Frisco, and I said, we're going to be out here in Summit County. We got to meet Tom Festa. She goes, you're right. We got to meet Tom Festa. Heard a lot about him and the whole works. So yeah, I tried to warn her, but I didn't know how to warn her. But yes, we got to A Basin that morning, and she met Tom. And Tom says, "Yeah, you married, Lynn, and she's a skier. Yeah, she a good skier. Yes, Tom, she's a good skier. Can we go up to the top? Yes, Tom, we can go to the top. Can we go to the West Wall? Yes, Tom, we can go to the West Wall. She's that good of a skier." And as the day progressed, Lynn even passed the test of the waterfall. So, Rick, all right, we married a good skier. He was so proud of that. We got done with that day, and I said, Tom, thank you for showing us a great day. I'd like to, take you out to dinner. He says, that's great, yeah, let's go to dinner. That's a good time. Yeah, let's go out. Tom, he just wanted to go out. He picked us up at our condo in Frisco. We got in his Jeep, and we ended up here at Keystone Lodge, Keystone Resort. So, yeah, I'm offering to take out the dinner. He's taking advantage of that one. So, it's Tom. That's fine. We get out of his Jeep. And, of course, when we got in the Jeep, he was still inside. I didn't see how he was dressed. And he was dressed exquisite. Sheepskin coat all the way down to the top of his cowboy boots. the cowboy hat, the cowboy boots, the whole works. He gets out, he struts right out there like he owns the place. And the valet comes out, yes, sir, welcome to the Keystone Lodge. And we're going to valet your car. What name can we put your car under? He looks at him and says, you can put my car under the name of Ronald Reagan. But you can call me Ronnie. This young man just didn't know how to react. Yes, sir, Mr. Reagan. No, I said Ronnie. Okay. He runs in there with a valet ticket, puts it on the ticket, you know, he filled up Mr. Reagan. We come in, and we had a great evening, a lot of fun, a lot of gaps. Of course, you know, Tom, it was entertaining during the whole meal. And we come back out that evening, and the valet, another one, it wasn't the same one. Yes, sir, did you have a good evening? Did you have a good meal? Oh, yes, we did. Can we get your car for you? What name is it under? It's under Ronald Reagan. But you can call me Ronnie. This kid just didn't know what was going on again. He goes inside and moves where all these keys are hanging, and he's telling his buddies, this guy here thinks he's Ronald Reagan. Up there, sure enough, there's a valet ticket, Ronald Reagan written on it. He went and told me, what? Mr. Reagan, we're going to get your car. Folks, that's one of many, many stories. Back east in New York State, Tom socialized with my mom and dad and many other couples. Always the stand-up comedian. Always had the jokes of the entire evening. He was always the center of attention. My saying is, if you left the party, if you left the bar and grill, if you left the restaurant, if you left any place and didn't know Tom when you left, it was your fault. Tom, may you rest in peace.
I would always warn people about Tom, to Rick's point, by saying, this is Tom, he's probably going to touch your boobs. And a lot of times there's next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Paul Duxbury. Paul.
We've gone way too long without a song here, so everybody knows what it is. We're going to start out with a little hymn. So, you know, there's a handful of people in this room that actually live with Tom Festa. And, you know, I can name a couple of them right here, and we've all had an experience. But, you know, when you meet Tom, everybody kind of has a distinct experience of when they met Tom. But I don't remember that day. It was just, Tom just showed up, and he was like, well, that's who I need to hang out with. He looks like a good time, you know. Why wouldn't you hang out with him? And, you know, so a couple years went by, and he was going through some life changes, and he was commuting back and forth to New York, and he decided that, you know, he needed a place to, you know, store his stuff and spend the winter. So Liz and I had just got married, and, you know, Tom said, well, you know, I really can't, you know, pose, but, you know, if it would just work out that, you know, I could just store some stuff with you, and, you know, I really won't be a bother. So we hadn't been married, you know, a month, and Tom is our roommate. And you couldn't, anything you can imagine, that's Tom as a roommate. And so, you know, he's up early, he's gone, he's everybody that's been up here, I can relate to. The Marines, the pastor, you know, Thomas, and everybody that I think about, they say something, there's a joke that comes to mind, like, oh yeah, Bel Air, there once was a man. You know, it just doesn't end. But so 2 years went by, and Tom went, he vacuumed, you hardly know he was there. He'd gone by, 5:30 in the morning to go to the village inn and have breakfast, and he'd be, back by who knows what time after he, left the ODI from a night of dancing. And a while into it, we wouldn't see him. And Liz was getting worried, like, what's going on? Did we upset him? Do you think we're charging him too much for rent? Is it $150 a month too much? And I said, you can't worry about Tom. And Tom with his vitamins and, all the supplements and all this stuff. And finally I went to Tom's cupboard and I opened up and said, we got a problem with this. She said, well, what's up? Well, he's gone. Well, how do you know? The vitamins are gone. If the vitamins aren't here, he's gone. And so that was our time with Tom living together. But it was a friend, it was a father figure, it was a brother, it was everything you could ask as a friend, and just the best person you could hang out with. And I never patrolled with him, and I see the influence that he has on patrollers' lives, but just as a friend and as a person, there's a handful of people that you go through life with that really have an impact and an influence on your life, and Tom was one of those. And it's a privilege and an honor to have had him in my life, and it was great. So here's to Tom, but let's leave on a fun note of one Tom story of Corey Brockray, Jeff Hill, Tom Festa, Paul Duxbury, Joe Switek, Scotty Red, going to Mexico. Hey, yeah, they got these great packages. Let's go down there, 3 nights, 4 days, whatever it is, to go to Mazatlan. We're there, we get there in the afternoon, get settled in. By the next morning, we're walking down the beach, and literally people are, hey Tom, good to see you. Tom, what's going on? But the classic was the little mariachi band playing at happy hour out under the little, cabana. And Tom, he's gotta be the, like center of what's going on. All of a sudden, where'd Tom go? Well, I don't know. All of a sudden he's standing on top of the cabana, and the pool is like, from me to the first row, about 10 feet up. And he gets back, and all of a sudden the band sees him up there, and they give him a drum roll. And it comes flying off the edge of this thing, dives across about 10 feet of sidewalk, does a big swan dive into the pool, and then he gets down and he starts swimming backwards. And he comes up the other side like nobody saw what's happening. So, they're all coming over. No mas, no mas. So, happy hour goes on. Tom's gone again. Sure enough, he's up on top of the cupola again, or he's in the cabana again. He does it one more time, comes flying off there. They're hauling him off. Before you know it, he's buddies with all the security guards and everybody there. Like, it was a good time. So I'm sure everybody's got that memory. Hold that memory, and let's have a good time. Thanks.
Next, I'd like to introduce Monty.
So once in a lifetime, you get to meet a Tom Festa, if you're lucky. Although Tommy didn't believe in luck, he used to tell me all the time, you make your own luck. So there's a lot of people here tonight that are either lucky or made their own luck and got to meet Tom Festa. I've got a million stories about Festa, but I'm only going to tell a couple hundred. Not going to leave that to other people. I'm just going to make a quick observation. Although I do feel like telling a joke because Tommy loved jokes, but I'll let that go as well. What I do want to do before I get started, I want to recognize the Keystone Ski Patrol, because every Friday, I'd follow Tommy into patrol headquarters or the patrol shacks so that he could say hi to you guys and girls. And you all, I'm not part of the brotherhood, but you all treated me really nice, and I really appreciate that. And I don't have to say this, but I will. Tommy loved all of you very much, and I'm sure all of you know that. So, the day after Tommy passed, we had a service up at the Lord of the Mountains Church. Although, as Jeff Hill reminded me, Tommy called it the Lord of the Stoplight Church. Couldn't leave anything alone. So at that service, Craig Simpson got up and said some really nice things about Tommy. And one of the things that he said really stuck with Jeff and I. He said that Tom Festa danced through life. But to think about that for a moment, he danced through life. So later that night, Jeff and I, back at Jeff's house, we had a couple of whiskeys and we got to talking about it and thinking about it. Like, if you have ever been in Pug Ryan's when they brought over his scotch, he would let out a whistle and a little hoorah, clap his hands, and he would literally dance in that chair just because he got a scotch. And Jeff reminded me, that Tommy had a favorite Italian restaurant in upstate New York where he would do the exact same thing when they would bring him his food. And whenever he met people on the street that he knew, the same thing, that whistle, the hoorah, clap his hands, and he would dance. But my favorite was skiing with Tommy, and anyone that had the opportunity to ski with Tommy will know exactly what I'm talking about. And if you never had that pleasure, you can imagine this in your head. He would step into those bindings, get out that whistle, the hoorah, and he would click his poles behind his back, and he'd go dancing down that mountain because he loved to ski. And there'll be a lot of people, there'll be a few more people to get up here and say some really nice things about Tommy, deservedly so. But I think Craig Simpson really hit the nail on the head when he said that Tom Festa danced through life. And what better way to be remembered than dancing through life? Because I have a feeling when I pass, Jeff Hill's going to get up here and he's going to say that I stumbled through life. But be that as it may, at some point in time I stumbled across Tom Festa. And I think that I was a better person because of that. And I know that I was a happier person because of that, because Tommy loved to have fun and he loved to laugh. And I really miss him.
Thanks, Mom. Next, I'd like to introduce Mr. Mike Galvin.
Howdy, everybody. What do you think of my shirt? I think Tom would like this shirt.
Yeah.
Just goes to show you gotta be careful what you order on the internet. So, when I first met Tom, I'd already been patrolling for a while, and I'd worked for the resort for a while. And when he walked in the door, he was the first older guy that we'd ever had come on to our patrol full time. Tom was an old friend of Rich Fry's. So I remember the very first day he walked in our locker room, and I went up and introduced myself and talked to him. I really thought he was going to be one of the volunteers. That's what I asked him. And no, you know, I'm here. I'm going to be working full time with you guys. And I was like, oh. But we got along great, and I always had a good time working with Tom. We became very good friends. Over the course of years, I wrote a few poems about Tom. And the thing is I'm not quite sure when I started writing poems. I think I was a child. But I write like a Christmas poem every year. I've done it for 15 years or more now. And Tom was good subject matter. Like I can, and I'll show it to you later, but I can write a poem about almost anything. But for whatever reason, Tom was easy to write a poem. There was one time when I first went up to Arapahoe Base and I left Keystone, and I had been going out. I was working towards a supervisor job, and they gave it to somebody else. And when I found out they'd given it to somebody else, Al Hansroth had told me, and I thought he was joking. And but he came and offered me a job patrolling at Arapahoe Basin. And this is after I'd been patrolling at Keystone for about 6 years, and I worked with Tom for several years. And so I go up to Arapahoe Basin, have a chance to, see what it's like up there, and look back down at Keystone, see what it's like down there. And later on, they made a special position for me. And they came back and they said, hey, Mike, we'd like to make you a supervisor. We've made this position for you. And after I had a chance to step back, I said, hey, thanks you guys, but I think I'll stay where I'm at. So one after another, I had mountain managers and patrol directors and people trying to talk me into taking this job. So Tom singles me out, tries to talk me into taking the supervisor job at Keystone. I wouldn't buy into it. By the end of the conversation, he called me a stubborn Irish prick. It's like Lloyd Morissette said later. He goes, I didn't know you were Irish. But apparently Tom, before that ever happened, Tom used to refer to me as that stubborn Irish prick. Came out, called me that. But I stayed with what I was doing, and later on came back and got the chance to work with Tom. And we've always been good friends. So there's one poem at the back that I wrote for Tom years ago, and it was just around the time that he was moving in with the Duxburys, the newlyweds. And it was called The Measuring of a Man. I've got several poems. I guess I'll read them all to you. The Measuring of a Man. My good friend Tom Festa, how I hated to see you go. Caught up in the wrath of women, leaving jobs and home in tow. As those who were truly known, I think they would probably tell a favorable story of Tom even when things didn't go so well. The truth can be elusive, to be lost in the weaving of tales, hidden when sometimes before you, by whose light lies seem to pale. The measuring of a man must be factored in many ways. When you can subtract the good from the bad from the good, the remainder is the worth of his days. Not one of us is perfect. I just want you all to know you can't sum up a person's character on only someone else's say so. I'll take him as I see him. I'd say he's good as gold. I back my friend Tom Festa for the story I've told. So that was one of the first poems I wrote about Tom. I've got another poem here. And if it's okay with Linda, it's a poem from their wedding that I'd like to all read to you. So from that wedding day, Tom and Linda have brought us all here to eliminate any doubts and make things clear. He's with her and she's with him. It's all by design and not just by whim. I imagine that Tom played hard to get, just like all those Italian guys. And Linda finally won him over with her soft, endearing eyes. Or maybe she landed him with some magic from the oven. Whatever kind of spell was set, let them enjoy and have some fun. They've both traveled this road before, so throw away all those old maps. New avenues are in existence, smoother routes perhaps. Love and care for each other. Listen to and compromise with. It's a garden that must be tended, this thing called marital bliss.